Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks, and you are checking out a first look video on ADSR. So in this video, we are checking out EOS2, or EOS2, I'm sure people pronounce it both ways, by Audio Damage, and it is a algorithmic reverb plugin. So in full disclosure, this is I want to get two things out of the way. This is the first time I've ever used an Audio Damage plugin. And second, I did reach out to the guys at Audio Damage because I saw KVR News Blast, or I saw it somewhere that this recently came out, and I wanted to do a first look video for the ADSR crowd. So I did reach out for a license, an NFR license. So just wanted to get that on full disclosure. Now that being said, I am damn impressed with the EOS2 Reverb. If you guys watch my videos, you know that I use FabFilter, the Pro R. I use Valhalla from time to time, and I use Arts Acoustic Reverb. And this reverb plugin sounds great on everything that I've put it on. So if you guys are looking to get out and maybe get a third-party reverb plugin, or maybe you have one of the Valhalla plugins and you're thinking about getting another one, I do strongly suggest checking this out because I like this more than a couple of the Valhalla plugins. It's just easier for me to use. It sounds better, quicker. That being said, I still do like the Valhalla plugins. But this is a great, I think having this with a Valhalla just gives you more sonic flexibility. So the thing that I like about this versus the Valhalla, for instance, is that this has 4 different kind of algorithms to it, right? It has 3 different plates and a Superhall. So if you got Room by Valhalla, or you got the plate reverb, it's just a room, it's just a plate, right? That's what the algorithm's trying to mimic and copy and create. Well, the thing I like about this is you have some flexibility in terms of you have a couple different plates, and you have that Superhall for really huge, kind of ethereal sounds. So in this video, we're going to talk about a little bit about the control, the interface, and then we're going to demo it on some sounds. I've used it on a bunch of sounds in the past couple days. The only thing I haven't demoed it on properly is a vocal and a song. I put it on my voice, but it's a little bit different, right, when you're just talking into a mic as opposed to hearing it in a dense mix on a lead vocal. But everything I've put it on, I have liked. So it is $59, I believe, if you are a new user to EOS. If you have the first version, I think you can get like a $10 upgrade or something that's crazy like that. All right, so let's check this out. So at the top here, you have just the EOS2, you have the Audio Damage logo, then you have your presets. And you can save presets. You can kind of go down through the factory presets. The thing I like is there's a good amount of presets. There's 23. Which is nice, because then if you're just trying to find a starting point, you're not like going through hundreds and hundred presets. You're just kind of like, oh, maybe I want a small hall, or maybe I want an ambience, that type of thing. So I do like that there is presets, but there's not too many presets where you're just going to preset surf and not actually get into tweaking, because tweaking, it's really easy. Then under that, you have the different algorithms. You have plate 1, plate 2, plate 3, and Superhall. Plate 1 is like a 1970s emulated plate, and we'll check that out on the guitar because I think it's easier to hear on just a clean guitar. And plate 2 is a stereo version, a little bit wider, a little bit more of an echo of plate 1. Now plate 3 is a variation of plate 2 where I think it's a little bit wider yet, and it has a more smooth reverb tail. And then the Superhall is just, as the name suggests, it's a big hall space type ambiance for big ethereal sounds. So the nice thing is actually kind of just loading up some of these presets like small hall, right, and going through these and just kind of getting an idea of what is, what's selected. So the interesting thing to me here is this preset's called small hall, and we're on the algorithm called Superhall. So you can still get small room and hall type sounds using the Superhall algorithm, depending on how you set the actual controls. So let's run through some of the controls here. Pre-delay, if you guys have ever used a reverb plugin or really any spatial type plugin, you know what that is. It's going to set in milliseconds how long it takes for the actual reverb to kick in. So that's pretty nice that you have the milliseconds. One thing that I haven't really found that I think would be nice for them to add is a tempo synced option for pre-delay. Because with this, you're going to have to get it. It's just like the Valhalla where you have to actually get in and do like the math, right? You have to actually figure out how many milliseconds is a quarter note or an eighth note or 16th note at your current BPM. And for instance, FabFilter Pro R has that option where you can just click and tempo sync. So if you want like a 16th note pre-delay, you can do it. So that was one of the main things where I was like, oh, dang, they don't have that. So let's talk about the next controls here. The two I want to talk about first are the mod rate and the mod depth. So this is kind of a cool, these work in conjunction with each other. At really small amounts, they change how the reverb kind of or how it moves through time. And at small amounts, it can make the reverb sound more realistic and less digital. And then the higher up you get in the mod rate and the mod depth, it creates kind of like just like coursing type effects. And we'll check these out on the guitar again. I just wanted to go through these before we get there. Now the attack, this controls the initial impact of the reverb and how much of the reverb you're going to hear when you actually play a note. And I'm using the word impact because that's how EOS describes it, or the EOS2 literature describes it. And that's actually what it is. It's not like an attack on a synth where it's like a rise or a pre-delay. It's more of like an impact thing. And we'll check that out on the guitar. Then you have diffusion. This is like early reflections. Size. You guys all know what size is on a reverb plugin. It's the size of the space that the algorithm's modeling. Then down here we have the decay. That's how long it's going to take for the sound to decay back to nothing. And your mix goes from 0 to 100%. And then over on the right, you have 6 different controls that help control the frequency of your reverb signal, or the signal that's passing through EOS2. These top 2 are kind of interesting. They're called low mult and high mult for multiplier. And the low mult, you can attenuate or boost the low frequencies, and the high mult, you can just attenuate the high frequencies coming through. Then you have a fairly typical 2 controls down here. We have low cut and high cut, where you can cut out the lows, set the point where, if it's too muddy, or maybe you have like a real high-pitched sound, like a hi-hat, and you don't want a lot of, you want to make sure it's just accentuating the higher frequencies of the hi-hat, that sort of thing, or a snare. You can do that with the low cuts and the high cuts. Then you have the crossover controls, and those are pretty common in reverb plugins. Most of you guys probably know what they are. All right, so let's check this out now on a couple sources. So we're gonna load this up first on a Serum instrument just to kind of hear what it sounds like. So here's the sound from Serum. Right, so it's a short, kind of plucky sound. There's a little bit of a delay on it, but there's no reverb. So first what we're going to do is I'm going to turn off my mic and just go through and jack up the mix, the mod rate, some of the different controls, so you can see what those do and hear what those do. And then I'm going to move it over to a bus so you can hear it in better context of how you'd use a reverb plugin on a synth sound like this. All right, so I went through some of the different controls there. Let's now go through and let's change and move EOS2 over to a bus. And I'm going to just drag it over. And now let's kind of listen to this in context, going through a couple of the different presets as we do this. All right, so I really like how it sounds. I purposely chose something that had a lot of attack and snap so you could hear how it grabbed a short sound and added the ambiance and the reverb to it. So let's turn EOS2 off on the Serum and let's go to a guitar patch here. So I have my guitar hooked up right now. Right, so it's just the dry guitar signal coming into my DAW. All right, now let's turn on EOS2 on a bus send that I've already set up and check out how it affects the guitar sound. All right, so right now I want to load up an instance of EOS2 and run through what some of the different controls do, like the mod rate, the mod depth, so you can hear those in isolation. So right now I have just a boring basic guitar up. Right, and you can hear it clicking through the mic, but I'll turn that off in a second, so let's turn this up. Now let's turn on EOS2 with the mix at 100, but everything else pretty much at the default. Let's turn down the low crossover, the high crossover. Let's turn this on. Right, it sounds quite weird and muffled right now, but let's turn up the high cut and the low cut a little. Let's see how that affects the sound. And the mix is at 100, pre-delay, everything else is at pretty much 0. It's actually got kind of an interesting sound. Let's turn the crossovers up. And let's turn up the low multiplier. I mean, I actually like that sound. I could do something with that in a track. So let's turn up the decay now. Right, we have the mix up quite high. So let's turn on this infinite control. When it's on, the reverb will just go and go and go and go forever. Like I've let up on the note. Right, so like for really big ambient, maybe atmospheric type pads, that sort of stuff, that would be really cool and fun. All right, let's turn the decay down again. Okay, let's turn up the mod rate and the mod depth. Right, it's got like a kind of a chorusy type sound. Right, kind of do some crazy stuff with that. The mod rate down low and the mod depth up quite high. It has like an organ type sound, which I dig. All right, so let's turn the mix down a little. Let's turn the decay up. Okay, now let's turn the attack up a little. Let's turn it up all the way. Right, so get an idea of what that does. And let's turn the diffusion down now because it was up really high. That's a really cool sound. I like that. Let's trim the low mult. Right, so it's really easy to get good, clean sounds from it. So let's check it out in context now with the guitar and not just control by control. So I really like that this reverb on guitar. It sounds really good. It sounds really clean. And for as dry as this guitar is, it actually really would help that in the context of a mix. So let's check out the guitar with like a lead sound and a little bit more of aggressive reverb. Right, so it even does really well in that Superhall algorithm for very big ambient type sounds. So I'm going to leave this video kind of right there, guys, because we checked out a lot of the different sounds. We went through the different controls. I don't want this to get too long and bloated. But if you are looking for a inexpensive but good sounding reverb plugin, definitely check out Audio Damage and EOS2. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm Echo Sours. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time.